What is up, everybody? Let's go ahead and, y'all know the drill. I'm going to talk to myself for a minute until I hear myself in my headphones. Or on my phone, rather. Make sure this is live. Oh, there we go. Everything is on. Sweet. Alright, let me go ahead and turn that down. Alley oops, can't make it today. I'm so very busy. I hope to catch the end if I can. Oh, Allie. Hopefully we might run a little bit late tonight. We'll see. It will be the standard 2 hours tonight at least. So 2 hours from now, maybe a third hour. Honestly, I'm gonna set if we hit the goal tonight on super chats or memberships, could even run 4 hours tonight. We'll see. I'm just gonna chill for a little bit. We're just chillaxing until we get more people in here. Let's see, what do I want to do while we wait? I want to play something. And so basically, there's only a few people in here right now, but we are going to just relax for a little bit. Maybe play. Let's see. Maybe just play some Minecraft for the first, 15, 20 minutes of the stream or so. Let me go ahead and show. There we go. Yep, just like normal. We will go ahead and play for about 15 to 20 minutes while we get, because I don't want to start reading the new stories until we got 10 or 15 people in here. And I know YouTube is horrible at showing notifications to everybody. I mean, like, really horrible. So, let's see what we got. I mean, really, I don't even think I'll build anything. This might just be 15 minutes of y'all watching me fly around the just random stuff that I've built around here. Once we hit about 15 subs, or not subs, 10 to 15 viewers, we'll dive into the first story. I've got a good amount of stories tonight. I haven't looked through them at all, of course. So, but they're all from authors that are seem to be pretty good. Always have some bangers in there. Cryptid Wanderer, look at you being all real and stuff. That's right. Man, I have not logged into this Minecraft world in 3 months, 4 months. I don't even remember what it was making here on this one. I mean, obviously I was making a mansion, but Minecraft is one of those games that there are so many items in the game now that you can do really cool stuff with, but you have to really stay in it to to know that this is a trapdoor, right? I think it's a trap. No, it's I don't know what that is. But, to know that I think it's a trapdoor, actually. Or I don't know. That you can put it on top of that and make it look like a, railing. And then this is a bookshelf. And to make bookshelf looks like trim almost. There's a lot of stuff you have to... I'm just rambling, guys, by the way. I didn't picture you playing Minecraft. Dude, Minecraft, I think, is one of the best games ever made. I'm 32, and I've been playing Minecraft since I was 14. I mean, I played Minecraft when it was an alpha. I remember I was actually in my high school computer programming class. I guess I was in 9th grade. It's hard to remember if it was 9th or 10th, but it came out when I was in my 9th or 10th grade. I want to say 9th. And I was in my computer programming class, and one of my friends just started talking about, hey man, have you heard of this game called Minecraft? And we were all like, no, we haven't heard about it. And of course, we were all nerds. I mean, we're in a freaking computer programming class, right? Making video games, which was what that class is primarily about. And he showed it to us in class. And this is back when, geez, the alpha, it was in maybe like the first or second build of alpha, and it was $7.99. And I bought Minecraft. I don't even know with what money. I must have got my dad because I wouldn't have had money back then. And it's been like one of the coolest games ever since. I can't remember the way I described you. Something like you're a part of the world you're reading in, like you're perfectly safe from the danger, and that you probably wear a snakeskin suit. That is horrifying. Zach, I'm here, super busy at the restaurant, so I can't chat, but I'm listening. That's awesome, man. It's good that you're here. Thank you. I don't know, it was a year or two ago. Hey, Kevin, I made it, but I'm actually working right now. Buildings in the lore for my Patreon. Did you see my message? No, I haven't looked, Jerry, but it's good to see you in here. Good to see you in here. All right. I'm just going through some stuff here, people. Oh, yeah. Okay. I did see that. You should make a soundscape and put it on YouTube. Wait, you should, I made a soundscape and put it on YouTube. Oh, okay. Cool. Hey, from the UK, Void Maverick. What is up, Void Maverick? Thank you so much for joining Patreon, too. That is so awesome, by the way. And I'm super glad to see you in here. It's like midnight here. Yeah, the Patreon help is absolutely insane. Like, it's super helpful. Because that is, what's nice about that is that, Patreon only takes 20%. YouTube takes like 35% out of memberships, I think. I want to say. Patreon's 20, and it's just super nice. It's super nice to have that dedicated income. It's all public. I think my Patreon's like $180 a month right now, which is awesome. I mean, it's just 180. It's about a $200 that I know comes in every month, and that I just kind of let sit there. And Patreon stuff, all Patreon money basically goes directly back into the channel, between paying authors, buying new equipment, getting the studio fund going. What is it? Oh yeah, because I just bought this new microphone. I keep going through chat and then looking at everything, but I bought a new microphone. That thing was $400, which is not even a very expensive microphone. It's kind of like mid-level, but I love this thing. This thing's awesome. But the Patreon money helps directly pay for the new equipment. I had a Rode NT1A before, which is a good microphone too. That was like $300 when I bought it. I've had that for, I guess, like almost 4 years now, maybe something like that. And then I got the AKG C214, which is the microphone that Dusklight Radio uses. I got it off of his recommendation, and I love this thing. This thing is awesome. That was $400. Then I bought this new interface, which was $200 that you plug it into. You plug it into the interface, and the interface goes into the computer, and I actually hate the new interface, so I bought a $200 interface that I'm like not even going to use, at least for now. Because all of a sudden I started using this thing, and my microphones started picking up all this background noise. So I don't know. I have a Yamaha Audiogram that I'm using right now, and that it must have some built-in compression that filters out low ambient background noise in real time. because I don't have the background noise in that, but I have it when I put in this the 2EI2 or whatever interface, and all of a sudden this background noise started popping up, and I was like, well, that sucks. So I can't even use this thing until I get the soundproof booth set up. Kevin, I don't see how you do DoorDash. I signed up for Amazon, and on my first delivery, my radiator went out. Oh, that is rough. Feels bad. That is rough. And here I was screwing around with my password trying to give you money. How is the studio going? I got the money for it now. Probably I've got $2,000 saved up for it. That's probably what it's going to cost. Well, I can probably get it for cheaper than that, but the problem is, and I'm sure plenty of y'all have heard this already, but there's no place to put it downstairs. So the studio has to go upstairs, where I'm at right now, in one of the extra bedrooms. The problem is if you want a soundproof actual space, it is going to be heavy as shit. The studio that I want built is going to be like 800 pounds. I can get it down to 600, but with me in it, my chair, my computer, it's another 200 pounds, right? So even if I get it to be as light as I can, it'll be 800 pounds with me in it. And I don't trust my house. It's a brand new house. It's like 2 years old. I don't trust my house on the second floor with an 800-pound 4x4 studio. I thought about putting it in the garage, because if I put it in the garage, that thing can be, 3,000 pounds. It won't matter. But the problem with the garage is, one, it gets hot as shit in there, obviously, during the summer. Two, it gets cold in the winter. Although I can deal with the cold. That's not a problem. The problem would be the heat and then the humidity. And if it's in the garage, I'll have to buy a whole new computer and a whole new setup and a whole new monitor and all that. Because this, I record and do my editing with my personal PC. All of that right here in my extra bedroom, right? Excuse me. So, that was gross. So I don't really know exactly what to do here. I'm at a bit of a crossroads. I might just have to build the studio upstairs and then just make it even lighter than 600 pounds, but that's going to take out all of the soundproofing that I want, really. And I need to, maybe 600 pounds will be all right up here, but I got to talk to like an actual engineer. So that's how that's going. Unfortunately, sounds like a missile with all the numbers. I used to donate to narrators for reading my stories. It's been a while since I've written anything, but it could be a good opportunity for us both. Cryptic Wander. Are you the guy that emailed me about a month ago? I'm trying to think. Yeah. Is that you or was that somebody else? Someone else emailed me around a month ago. Like a brand new person that I don't know asking me to read. But yeah, let's see. Or have I read your stories already? Because your name sounds, I know your name. I don't know if I know your name from Reddit or if I know it from just general comment section. Should come to the UK. We got the load-bearing floors. And I've been told by two people, like their best guess is that the room I'm in right now, it's right above the garage. And two people have told me that the wall I would build the studio on is actually a load-bearing wall, which means it could hold something very heavy. I would love to get a studio up here. I mean, I want a soundproof room so bad. I mean, a neighbor turns on their lawnmower, I gotta pause. That's an hour. The ice cream truck rolls by, I gotta take a break. The garbage man comes by, because it's those low bass frequencies that really travel. No, Cryptic Wander. Okay. Then I must just know you from the comments. Have you ever submitted anything, or? Hmm. We'll give it about, I don't know, 5 to 10 more minutes, and then we will dive into the stories, everybody. Man, I have been, I've actually, this world that I'm in, walking around right now, I built this, I started this world like, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. This was the first dwelling that I built. Hello, what have I missed? Nothing yet, Cisco. We're just waiting for people to start funneling in here, and then we will get it going. I know if you type my name in, you'll find my stuff. I was working on a series called The Red Hill Brothers. Might have pitched it to you a year or two ago. Let me just, let me go through and just search my own channel. Cryptic. Alright, nothing comes in my titles when I type in cryptic. I don't think anything pops up when I type in wanderer either. Let's see. No, let me just cryptic. Cryptic wander Reddit. Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, I've actually have you followed. Man, it's been a while since you posted, man. We got to get you back posting. 4 years ago. All right. An ice cream truck sound in the right context can be creepy as hell. You're damn right about that. What is up, Osiris and Danny B. Cooper? Danny Cooper here at 7:15 p.m. DB was here. All right. I didn't just mute myself for like 2 minutes, did I? Let's see. I hope not. All right. I've been writing my third 20,000 word story, but still needs a good polish. Maverick, that's awesome. The 20K stories are my favorite. Anything over 12,000, I mean, anything over 10,000 words, I already like. Once you hit 15,000, it's like, hell yeah. And once you hit 20K or more, it's like, ooh, yes. Not to mention garbage men who start working at night. Yikes. Thankfully, there's like county ordinances around here. I don't think you can start before 6 in the morning, and then, excuse me, I don't think you can pick up after 6 p.m. Something like that. Yeah, those long stories are the best, Maverick, by far. I got a little bit of a treat for y'all, so speaking of long stories, let me go ahead and start the next, start a goal here. Sneak peek. Hell has a prison. So, let's start a goal here. If we hit like $30 between super chats and memberships, like donated memberships, or just someone just joining themselves during the stream, I have an hour and 15 minutes recorded right now of a 24,000 word story, I think. 24,000 words. It is Hell Has a Prison. And I've got half of this thing done. I'm at an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you, Void Maverick. Thank you. Thank you for the $4.99. I had to rename it because I had to name it Actual Hell Has a Prison because I named the wrong story Hell Has a Prison, and then I had to overwrite it. But I got an hour and 16 minutes of this thing done. If we can hit that $30 mark, then I will go ahead and we'll record for like 2 hours like normal. And at the end of it, around that 9 o'clock or whatever, I will play this. And this is the first half of a story that so far has been freaking awesome. I've had a blast record. I sat down for like an hour, a couple days ago, just reading this thing straight out. It's about a person who goes to hell. And I mean, it's obvious. Hell has a prison. That's been a lot of fun. This will come out anywhere between like this week or a couple weeks from now. I kind of want to get some other voices in this, so I don't know. I want to get some females in this because there's a few female parts, and I mean, there's a lot of parts in this. I could have 5 to 10 people on this story. It depends. I kind of want to read the whole thing myself and then decide if I want to bring people in, who to play what role, and I really wanted Charon's Tales to play Satan in this, but he hasn't messaged me back. Because he's got a great voice for that I would love so far. I went with, let's see, this is the kind of voice, Hell has a prison, devil voice. Take your own predicament, for example. You didn't lust for your own sake to start. You wished to help your friend. But lust is lust, and rules are rules to him. A sin is a sin, and you were doomed to come here, regardless of intent. Do you see? I understand, child. I see you for who you are. That was just a sneak peek at the devil voice. I wanted Charon to do it because he's got a real nice bassy voice, but he hasn't messaged me, so I went ahead and read all the parts for it in that voice. Do you prefer hell stories exclusively? Actually, I don't, even though I know my channel is pretty hell-centric. They're my personal favorites. Okay, so this is a kind of a bind I got myself in a couple years ago. Was hell stories are my favorite to read. Like even just in my free time, they're my favorite to read and my favorite to narrate, right? So I started doing them for a little bit. I would sprinkle them in, but then I noticed like 3 years ago, the hell ones got the most clicks. So then you start, getting in this kind of loop where you want more clicks, so you do the thing that gives you more clicks, but then YouTube starts cultivating that specific audience for you, and then I'm like, I don't want to be a hell channel. I want to be a creepypasta channel. That's what I started as. I want to read creepypastas, not just hell stories, right? Because a hell creepypasta channel is a niche within a niche. So your max outreach is going to be smaller, right? So I got myself into a bit of a rut there because those were getting all the views. So then I did a bunch of them. And then when I would do a regular creepypasta and nobody would click on it because my audience was getting hell-based. So it took me like a good year and a half to start putting out way more regular creepypastas to go back into the regular creepypasta audience. That took a while. Now I do a hell story, maybe 3 a month, something around that. But they are my favorite, though. Let's see. The Dealmaker voice with a couple of octaves lower would sound awesome. I'll tell you, a couple of octaves... I think you just mean a couple of notes, because my speaking voice is already in like the 2nd octave range. So an octave below me is James Earl Jones, and then another octave between that is Inhuman. Well, I'm pretty generous when it comes to donations. I know the time and energy it takes to make them come to life, so if you feel like it, you can glance at my series and decide if you like it. Okay, let's see. We have chatted before. Okay. Sorry for the dead air here, guys. I'm just speed reading real quick. Trying to think Is this, Oh, yeah, you have a really long series, don't you? That's right. Ooh, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Let's stop all this monkey business. Let's go ahead and start on the first story. Also, if we hit the goal too, I have a 20-minute story from Vespers Bell. Some of y'all probably heard this one. It's called the Erebus Project, but this will be coming out this week. If we hit the goal, we can listen. Y'all can get a sneak peek and listen to this as well. It's about a person who's blind, and this person signs up for an experiment. We can listen to this, and then I've got one of whose story was this? I think this was an 02321, maybe. As a social worker, I've seen a lot of weird things, or a Saturday story. I'm not sure which one. We will go ahead and start out with. All right, Random Appalachian. I haven't had a story from him on the channel in a while. I would say, let's see, what's one that y'all might have heard? There's a story that I did maybe 2 years ago. I'm a deputy, like I'm a local deputy. Last night I met the devil. That was a cool one. That's like an hour and 20 minutes. If you haven't listened to that, I would give that a listen. That's a really cool story. It's a guy in the thumbnail. It kind of looks like a Red Dead Redemption thumbnail. That's a good one. So he's had a few. There's a couple one. The Wickenshire House I've done. He's had a couple on the channel. I've been meaning to go back to his master list and just go through them because he's got quite a few good things on here. All right, let's go ahead. Start it up. So, which one? Red or black? I sighed and looked up from my paperwork to find Tracy's glossy pink phone hovering 3 inches from my face. On the screen, 2 pictures stood side by side of her curvaceous figure in the same provocative pose, adorned in 2 different sets of extravagant and yet flimsy lingerie. Neither. Pushing a few stray locks of scarlet hair back into place behind my ear, I shook my head. Shit, is this a... It sounds like it's a 2-female story. I just hate reading stories from female perspectives because it just takes out of the immersion, but alright. Lingerie. Neither. Pushing a few stray locks of scarlet hair back into place behind my ear, I shook my head. Yeah, I'm not really into that Yeah, I'm not really into stuff like that. I'm more of a simple and comfortable kind of person. Dex, what's up, dog? What's up? Hit that vape and tell me a story, bro. That's right. Tracy rolled her sapphire blue eyes, sat upright on her porch. Sat upright on her... Tracy rolled her sapphire blue eyes, sat upright on her perch atop the corner of my desk, and blew another bubble in her gum. You'll never get a man in your jammies, Andrea. Seriously, you've got a killer body. All you need is some lacy stuff, maybe a little schoolgirl outfit, and boom, instant Maxim material. I suppressed a shudder at the mental image that... Damn, my eyes are getting all blurry here. I suppressed a shudder at the mental image that conjured up and focused on going back to filing local police reports by chronological order. No thanks. If some guy likes me because I'm dressed like a miner in a thong, then I don't want to get to know him, much less bring him around my little sister. That's creepy. I think it's hot, Tracy grinned, and returned to scrolling through her online portfolio, with all its likes, shares, and countless stomach-turning comments left by her loyal patrons. And besides, the site I'm on pays good money for feet pics. Seriously, I sometimes get more than that for regular photos. Gag. I slid my swivel chair back and grabbed a random handful of papers to head for the big industrial copier. I've got copies to make. Hey, don't forget those account rosters for the water department, all right? Monica wants them by next Thursday. Relieved to be away from my coworker's obsession with herself, I dove into the little slide alcove where the ancient copy machine stood and pressed the button for 100 copies of nothing. While the printer spat out blank sheets of paper, I leaned back against the wall and rubbed my face with both hands. Life in Barron County, Ohio, had always been pretty normal, even boring. The world seemed to forget that we were even here, and for the most part, the county residents were just fine with that. I'd enjoyed working at the local courthouse, despite being paired with a girl who spent more time chasing men than she did filing paperwork. It wasn't that I didn't like Tracy, since she could be rather nice when you got her phone away from her. It's just, she reminded me too much of the one area in life I'd failed at miserably. It wasn't that I had a problem with getting guys to look at me, especially once I quit my tomboy phase during freshman year and started wearing dresses instead of hand-me-down jeans. Being pretty had felt nice, until one jerk at high school prom got drunk and called me a worthless slut in front of everyone for not wanting to shag in the back of his car. After that, I hadn't won the back of his car. After that, I hadn't worn anything girly for months, and even when I did finally work up the confidence to dress nice again, I'd avoided dating like the plague. It made the dreary nights after getting out of work that much lonelier, in my dingy little apartment, with no one to talk to but my pet goldfish, Alejandro. I wanted a solid relationship, wanted to find a nice guy who wouldn't run out on me like my mother had. But honestly, I didn't know where to start. Sean seemed nice. That thought put a smile on my tired face, and I shut my eyes to enjoy the memory, like a sweet, gooey caramel chocolate from the local grocery store. Sean Hammond. Talk about a hunk. He had big, broad shoulders, dark hair that looked as soft as silk, and this warm, carefree smile that I could never look away from. Tracy made it her mission to seduce him from the first day he walked into the courthouse door, dressed in that navy blue sheriff's deputy uniform that fit like a glove. But he'd only responded with polite disinterest to her not-so-subtle advances. Once he'd gone, Tracy declared in an annoyed huff that he must be gay, which made me giggle under my breath, since it was clear she would have wrapped her legs around Sean in a heartbeat. Any girl would have. She would have wrapped her legs around Sean in a heartbeat. Any girl would have. Thank you, Cisco. Thank you, Cisco. Heartbeat. Any girl would have. In my wildest dreams, I sometimes imagined what it'd be like to kiss him, to hold his hand and feel his strong arms around me. Then, over a month ago, the news came in, rocking the entire community to its core. A bloody shooting at the sheriff's office, multiple dead and wounded, and the culprit, Sean Hammond. Sheriff Warnaw declared him guilty of organizing domestic terrorism and claimed that Sean fired first in a grand scheme to further political hatred. Many people believed it, including Tracy, who seemed to hate Sean simply because he'd been the one man in the county government. Okay, it's just phrased a little funny. Including Tracy, who seemed to hate Sean simply because he'd been the one. Now I'll redo that whole thing. First, in a grand scheme to further political hatred. Many people believed it, including Tracy, who seemed to hate Sean simply because he'd been the one man in the county government who turned her down. Myself, I didn't know what to think. Not when I heard that Deputy James Walker had been killed and that the security footage had been accidentally deleted. Sean never struck me as a cold-blooded killer, and from what little I'd known of him, he and Walker were close, like brothers. He'd always blush whenever our eyes met over the partition on my desk, which I'd found kind of cute, considering Sean was big enough to snap me in half, He never got impatient with me and never threw out any of the typical crude pickup lines that compared me to some degrading number scale like a market cow. Instead, Sean just turned that adorable shade of red whenever I smiled at him and asked me how my day was going. It was almost like he wanted to say something every time he came in, but never managed to work up the courage to do it. Tracy would be green with envy, and I wouldn't even be spending my evenings here. Opening my eyes, I glanced down at the black nylon duffel bag stowed behind a stack of copy paper where no one else could see it and checked my watch. 7:45. We'd stay away later than usual to catch up on some backlog paperwork and get some nice overtime pay. But I knew Tracy would be leaving soon. She usually ducked out 15 minutes before any designated quitting time, which was perfect, because it gave me all the space I needed to do my second job. "Hey, I'm heading out." Tracy appeared like clockwork from around the corner, expensive pink Gucci handbag slung over one arm, and checked her honey-colored hair with her phone as if I wasn't even there. "You're good with finishing up here, right?" "You're good with finishing up here, right?" As if saying no would make a difference. "Yeah, I'll be fine." I plastered on a thin faux smile and slouched against the stack of paper to ensure she couldn't see the black bag. "You go and I'll lock up. See you tomorrow." "Okay, bye," Tracy chirped, and spun on one heel to sashay toward the door, her cherry red stilettos click-clacking on the floor tiles in a mocking rhythm. Both annoyed and relieved to see her go, a massage for my... I had to scratch my head there. Both annoyed and relieved to see her go, I massaged my forehead and tapped the cancel button on the printer so that the tide of blank pages would end. More than anything, I wanted to go back to my shoebox apartment above Horton's dry goods store, take a hot shower, and slip into the soft cotton pajamas that Horton's dry goods store, take a hot shower, slip into the soft cotton pajamas that made Tracy cringe so much, and crawl into bed. But I had important work to do, and even if it meant another short night and another long, exhausted day at the office tomorrow, it had to be done. Grabbing the black nylon bag, I hefted it onto one shoulder with a soft metallic clink of the objects inside. Mismatched. Grabbing the black nylon bag, I hefted it onto one shoulder with a soft metallic clink of the objects inside and marched for the stairwell. I walked past every office, checked every floor, and looked over and locked every last exterior doorway before making my way to the dusty animal control office on the corner of the third floor. Black Oak's animal control department had been vacant since last year, when our old dog catcher, Miss Rascati, died from a stroke. No one seemed to want his rather... Oh, this says Mr. Oak's animal control department had been vacant since last year, when our old dog catcher, Mr. Rascati, died from a stroke. No one seemed to want his rather thankless job, and so the office sat. No one seemed to want his rather thankless job, and so the office sat empty, while the locals... What the hell? Let me just get a drink or something, jeez. I've done a lot of reading today, out loud. I've had, a baby girl today, and she's been a sleepy girl today, so I've been putting her in the bassinet and then running to the recording room and getting some recording done in between naps all day. I want to, so hopefully, if I can get... All right, here's the tentative plan for next month on the channel. Is I'm thinking about taking all of next month off from my DoorDash day job, which I do about 30 to 40 hours a week. I'm thinking about taking next month off and just focusing purely on YouTube and recording way more and trying to get a video out every single day. So what I've been doing for the past couple of days is recording 2 to 3 stories a day when I can. At least when my wife is not at work and then she's with the baby, I'm trying to record as much as possible so I can build up a bit of a backlog for next month. And hopefully by the end of this month, I have like 10 extra videos saved up so I can take off next month, take off all of September, and just record and do a story every single day. See what the channel makes, see if it makes some more money, see if I get some more views. You know, just try to up everything up a bit and see if I can replace DoorDash with uploading every day and see if that money difference is there. And just see how that goes. We'll see. If September is a good month and I'm able to do that, it'll be a lot more stories coming out from now on. And so the office sat empty. Where is that? And so the office sat empty, while the locals were left to deal with problematic animals on their own. However, Mr. Rascati left behind all his county-issued equipment and the slender green gun safe that stood behind on his old desk, which I'd managed to get the key to after copious amounts of snooping. Also, the limiting factor, one of the biggest limiting factors for stories, for a story every day, it's not even me. It's not even me recording. It's how difficult it is to find that many stories. And it's very hard finding a story every single day. I mean, there are times, guys, where I sit at the computer for like 5 hours straight and I listen to, something in the background, and I'm doing nothing but like going through Reddit or the Creepypasta wiki for like 5 straight hours, trying to find stories, contacting authors, and juggling DMs, trying to get permission, all that stuff. Like I'll do that for 5 hours straight some days, just trying to find stories. And then, you might hiccups. You might. One of the big killers for me is I hate finding a story on like No Sleep or something, and then I spend this time speed reading it, and I'm like, yeah, this story is fucking awesome. It's a long story or it's a series, and I'm reading this thing as fast as I can just to get the gist. And then you get to the end of it, and you're like, what kind of fucking ending was that? And then I'm like, I can't even read that, because I know if I listen to that as like an audience, someone listening to the channel, I'd be pissed at some of those endings. So I'm like, I just wasted 45 minutes and I can't even use this, and it's like, ugh. That happens all the time. So yeah, the biggest limiting factor for me is just finding stories, and I've got like 100 separate authors from DMs like, hey, I'm a narrator. Can I use this? What do you need? What kind of shout out? What kind of this? What kind of that? Yeah, that's the factor. I wish, oh gosh, first off, I wish I made enough money for this to be full time, which hopefully soon maybe it will be. If my views doubled, this will be full time, 100%. I kind of need about a doubling of views, maybe even not even 100% more views, maybe like 50% more views would be full time for this. I'd be eking it by, but that would be enough to justify full time, 50% more views. And if I started getting, if I hit like 40,000 subscribers or even like 35 or 40, I would love to be like, hey, just find me a person to pay. And then, hey, you look through yourself and you send me stories to read. That'd be awesome. What do you do if a story writer disappears and doesn't reply after you send a request for the story? What do? You don't use it. If y'all saw my DMs, I mean, there's probably 30 authors. I mean, there are some people that write some serious bangers of stories, and then they post and drop, or they post 20 stories and they're active for like 5 years, and then you look and the last thing they wrote was 4 years ago, and then they don't even reply. So you're like, shit. this story is awesome, and I can't even read it, even though I've asked, because they just... Listen, if you find it on No Sleep, guys, or most subreddits, if you find it on there, you need permission, and if you don't get permission, you can't read it. It's one of the reasons why I like the Creepypasta Wiki, is because everything is there. Everything there is free under CC BY-SA. So you don't need permission, although I still do my best to contact those people, because if your story is getting narrated, I know people want to know, so I do my best to still contact those people. But there's no messaging system on the Creepypasta Wiki, which is annoying. Thank you, Cisco, for the gift. But yeah, there are stories on here that I want to read so bad, but the guy just doesn't reply. Or you send them, or maybe they do, they're still active, but they don't open DMs, and you send them like 4 messages, and you're like, well, fuck. Guess I can't do anything. For copious amounts of snooping. Where is that? He didn't have much, since stray dogs, cats, raccoons, and deer didn't require a lot to put down. Managed to get the key to after copious amounts of snooping. He didn't have much, since stray dogs, cats, raccoons, and deer didn't require a lot to put down, but he did have a long black 22 250 bolt-action rifle with a scope, bipod, and best of all, a fat cylindrical suppressor. A few weeks prior, I'd slipped into the office late after work and stole it. Shutting the door to the office, I made sure the shades were drawn, tugged off my work blouse, dropped my skirt, and stepped out of my slip-on flat shoes. Let's see. Door to the office, I made sure the shades were drawn. Oh, fuck, where's that? Here we go. Tugged off my work blouse, dropped my skirt, and stepped out of my slip-on flat shoes. From the duffel bag at my feet, I produced my black cargo pants, a black long-sleeve t-shirt. I said long sleeve, funny. My feet, I produced my black cargo pants, a black long-sleeve t-shirt, and the dark gray sneakers I cut for running and casual wear. An ebony bandana covered my crimson hair once I tied it back, and I wiped my face clean of the day's makeup with a towelette, only to daub greasy dark face paint on dark face. There's just a couple commas missing, here, so it's just... And I wiped my face clean of the day's makeup with a towelette, only to daub greasy dark face paint... I fucked it up again. And I wiped my face clean of the day's makeup with a towelette, only to daub greasy dark face paint over my porcelain skin. There we go. You got it. Let me take a sip. I've got a new story, too, that I needed to outline. It's not really, so I got a story set up that the ideas in my head, and I've outlined some of it. Y'all might see this in, a week or 2 months, but the idea that I have is, it's going to be, picture yourself at a pagan festival 2,000 years ago, maybe even 3,000 years ago. Picture Burning Man, right? There's Discord. There is Discord. I don't know if anyone in the Discord that's already in it can send a link. Let me find a link. Invite to server. Or send a server invite link to a friend. Let me go ahead. I still don't know if I want this to be a member only, a member / Patreon only Discord or not. But I know you're a member, Maverick. Someone let me know. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Click on that. That should be an invite to the server. I don't know if I want it to be member only, but anyone who's in the live streams, more than welcome to join. And Maverick, I know you're a member, so you can definitely join. Lullaby. Good to see ya. Good to see you in here. Your sister told me that she might not make it tonight, unfortunately. Yeah. Anybody, go ahead and click on that. Let me know if that invites people to the server or not. I think it should. I don't know anything about Discord, guys. Like, I barely know how to use it myself or my friends when I'm playing video games. So, sweet Cisco. There he is. Nice. Yeah. Anybody, if you're in the live streams, you get it, whether I make it membership or not. I think I might just open it to just everybody. But definitely this is for anybody in the live streams, at least. Like I said, there's like nothing in there. Like I have a general chat. I made it and I haven't done anything with it because I don't know anything about it. And I need to just sit down and watch YouTube all day and just learn how to make channels and learn how to do this and that. I don't really know much about it, so I haven't messed with it. But it's there. Just joined. Yep, good to see you. Void Maverick, what's up? I can't join age-restricted servers from my phone. Oh, man, that's lame. Is that like a crazy Australian like government policy y'all have? Yeah, good to see y'all in here. Maybe I'll start hanging out in the general chat more often. Like maybe when I'm just gaming by myself, maybe I'll just start going in the general chat and just hanging out with people. That might be something I might start doing. Just, give back to the community. These live streams are a big way I try to give back to people. You get stories early, you get them live, I get to talk to y'all, and I have a ton of fun doing it. So maybe I'll start hanging out in the actual voice chat and just be hanging out with y'all for a bit. I could help with that if you want me to. I am off work today. I'm going to have to take you up on that sometime, Cisco. Either tonight or sometime this week. My wife works today and tomorrow, which means I'm with the baby all day today and tomorrow. Well, not now, but tomorrow I will be. But there'll be a few days that I'll have off to where I'll be home. And maybe we can get together. If someone can help me, I'll get some moderators in here. Cisco, I'd be more than happy for you to be a moderator and help me set up channels, walk me through some things or something like that, because I don't know anything about Discord. Like I said, I barely know how to, and I've been a gamer like my whole life, and I still don't know like anything about it. I barely know how to invite my friends to a voice call. Pretty much. Yeah, Australia and the EU is just getting like insane with the laws. I mean, like it's getting wild over there. I paid someone to set up mine. I get it. Thank you, Cisco. Look at that. Lullaby got a membership. Also, too, with how I told y'all that I'll be taking off, hopefully, if I can get it to, pay for itself. I'd like to take off next month and do a video every single day. And to hopefully, I want to start doing like 2 member videos a week. And, any member video goes to Patreon. So don't worry about that. If you're a YouTube member, you'll get it. And if you're a Patreon member, those will also be up on Patreon. And I try to upload every video on Patreon also, so that way Patreon people get stuff ad-free. And, by the way, I don't know if people notice, but when I upload videos to the membership tab on YouTube, I turn monetization for those off, so you don't get any, you don't get ads on those. If you're, happy to support me, I'm not going to try to make money off of you, so there'll be no ads on those. I managed my D&D Discord for a good while if you need extra hands. Thank you, Maverick. I would love to get into D&D sometime. I got a good imagination. I like that kind of stuff. I really need to. It's all about time, right? It's all about having time. Now I have no time since I have my first baby, but it's worth it. All right, where are we? Over my porcelain skin. I feel like my voice is just off tonight. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to like sit in a good position, but I don't know. I've had this like lump. I was gonna say a lymph node. I feel like I have a swollen lymph node in my throat because I've had like a lump on the right side of my throat for like 3 months, and it was bad. It was pretty noticeable for like a couple weeks, and then it kind of like went down by like 90%. And then some days I don't feel it at all, and then some days it like slightly comes back. I'm like, what the hell is that? I hope it's just a swollen lymph node that isn't draining right. That's what that's what my regular doctor said. He's like, if it gets worse, we'll get it looked at. But if it doesn't get worse, don't worry about it. And it's not getting worse, but it's not 100% better. It's been a while. Dark face paint over my porcelain skin. A pair of black latex gloves slid over my fingers, and I pulled the disassembled rifle from my bag to fit it together, screwing the suppressor onto the threaded muzzle. The rifle didn't fire a heavy bullet, but it was I was going to reverse that. But it was fast and quiet, thanks to the can, as my grandfather would have called it. Having served as an air cavalry scout in the Vietnam War, Grandpa taught me to shoot from the time I could walk, despite my mother screeching about how she wanted me to learn piano instead. Let me redo that voice cut out. Grandpa taught me to shoot from the time I could walk, despite my mother screeching about how she wanted me to learn piano instead. I could still remember holding that old Marlin lever gun behind our house, with Grandpa behind me so I wouldn't fall over from the recoil, and my mother watching with a sour, hateful frown from the living room window. She'd ended up divorcing my father, and Dad married the woman who gave birth to my now 12-year-old stepsister, Lucille, so I couldn't really complain. I wish you were here, Grandpa. You were always a better shot than me. Truth be told, aside from the shooting aspect, I felt as much a fish out of water with this line of work as Tracy would have been in a church, but I had no other choice. No one else would believe me. The sheriff seemed too busy hunting terrorists that may or may not have existed, and I was the only one with the cobbled-together bits of gear that could pull this off. Ever since I'd first seen them, crawling through the side streets of Black Oak from my apartment window, I'd known that someone had to do something, anything to stop them. They weren't normal. They weren't safe. The dad bod's begun. Tell me about it. I mean, today I had a whole Tombstone pizza, frozen pizza. That's not hard to do. That's easy to do. But I had a whole Tombstone. I had like 7 Slim Jims, like small ones, and then I had like a quarter of a bag of like powdered like Hostess donuts, and then I have a 3 Musketeers king-size bar sitting right in front of me. I ate half of it. And then I had like a third of a bag of dill pickle chips. And I think that's it. So I need to relax a little bit on the calories lately. Thank you, Lullaby. $7.99. Thank you so much. So you just got here, Lullaby, but if we hit the goal tonight, I have an hour and 15-minute story that I have recorded. It's like a 3-hour story, but if we hit the goal tonight, once 9 o'clock hits here, I'm going to play the hour and 20 minutes that we have done so far and give you all a sneak peek. That story will be out in, I don't know, maybe it might be out in a few days or it might be out in a couple weeks. I need to figure out if I want to get some other voice actors in it. There's maybe like 10 parts available, although, some people only have like, 2 sentences. But the big line in this would be there's a part for the devil. I thought about Charon's Tales and I thought about Dexter, but I thought about you, Dex, for that. But I was like, I don't know if I want them to be the devil. And then I started doing, and I was like, you know what? I recorded the devil lines myself. And then I thought Charon or Dex could be one of the angels, one of the demons in here. But I also don't like asking people for lines. Like, hey, do you want to collab? And they're like, they get it. Yeah, I'd love to. And then it's like, okay, yeah, here you go. You have 3 sentences. And then it's like, really? Because I'm like, I feel like if you collab, you should get more lines than like, 20 words. um, and I don't want to ask like 7 people for lines that are all like 30-second parts. So, but I'm like, I don't know. I would love to have 5 collaborators on this, but also I like this story so much that I'm so excited to put it out that I don't want to like ask people for lines. And you want to give people, some people take 2 weeks to give you lines. Some people give you lines the same day, right? And if I ask people for lines, it could delay the story for another 2 weeks. And I want this thing out like now. And I'm like, it's also my fault. Like, I didn't know this story was so good. I just started reading it like 2 days ago. And I'm like, man, I wish I found this story earlier and looked at it and asked people for lines 2 weeks ago so I could get it out. Let's see. What are your thoughts on dystopian horror? I freaking love dystopian horror. That is one of my favorites. Sorry, Dex. Sorry, I got lost in a Slim Jim or something. Oh, man. Let's see. Is there cool emojis lullaby? I need to actually make more custom emojis. I don't have any custom emojis. I need to get on that one day. There's so much of YouTube that is like so, even though I've been doing it for 5 years, it's like so alien to me that I'm like, man, I need to get on emojis. I need to make more membership pictures. Let's see. Just ask them if they want to do a few lines for you. That way there's no I know, yeah, and I'm just making excuses, but I still don't like, hey, you want to be in this? It's a small part. Although, I mean, there's no reason to not. Yeah. All right. It's a cool story, though. Plus, I need to finish reading it myself to know who has what lines and who has how many. And then, it doesn't sound like it, but this is a 24,000 word story. And when you go through and highlight parts for this, it can take hours. Like when I did the tribal jail story, which is, I think it's a 3.5 hour story, or it's a 4-hour story. It's 3.5 or 4.5 hours. When I highlighted that thing, it took me like 2 sessions of. It took me 2-hour sessions to highlight everybody's parts in that. It was insane. I'm like, Dan, it's taking forever. Ask your channel members to do those small roles. Maybe it could be engaging with the community and super fun. It would be, but most people don't have a microphone. Most people have like a headset. And if you go from hearing like my voice on a microphone and then you hear someone on a headset that sounds like they're from 2004, it's just too jarring. And then I would feel horrible if I asked a member to record even a sentence, and then I hear it and nobody take this the wrong way, but if I heard their voice and it sounded like insane or like crazy, I would feel horrible being like, hey, I'm sorry, I just can't use that. Then I would feel like a total douchebag, So tell them to send a sample so you could match them with the right role. Yeah, that could be doable, Cisco. Also, if I start hanging out in the general voice chat on the Discord with members or just subscribers or listeners, I could actually get a feel for who's got a good voice for it and who doesn't. So that could be actually an idea. Yeah. That could be something to think about. Let's see. Let's get the microphone. I love this new microphone. Cisco, I get it. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's all I'll say. They weren't normal. They weren't safe. And there were more of them with each passing night. Looking myself over to be sure I'd covered anything that could glint, shine, or stand out, I zipped up the duffel bag, shouldered it along with the rifle, and climbed the metal ladder bolted to the far wall. The sheer metal access hatch swung open with a low creak of rusty hinges, and I clambered out onto the flat tarp. I thought I said terraper. I was like, what the hell is a terraper? It's a tar paper. I still don't know what that is, but... Nightmares auditions. Auditions with nightmares. Hatch swung open with a low creak of rusty hinges, and I clambered out onto the flat tar paper roof on all fours like a cat. What the hell is this lady about to do? Is she about to, assassinate somebody? Is that... y'all getting that vibe? Cool. I didn't hit record. Cool wind brushed my painted check, a comfortable 55 degrees, and the stars began to glimmer in the night sky overhead. Below me, the last of the day's traffic slowed down, people went inside for the night, and lights started to switch off all across town as more working-class people hit the sack. From the top of the 3-story red brick courthouse, I had a perfect vantage point over the entire town, and already my eyes picked up flickers of movement in the shadows. Also, does anybody know how Amanda's doing? Just curious, because she commented a few, maybe 5 days ago, said she's doing all right, just has been busy. Anybody got any info on her? She hasn't been to a live in 2 or 3 weeks, so I hope she's doing okay. That's a good name for a show where we try to become the nightmares of tomorrow, Maverick. Actually, having Ozzy do some of the Ozzy parts, yeah, I do. I need that. Well, I have plenty of Aussie women listeners. I don't know of any Aussie male listeners. El de Gusto, on the bus home from work, I'm here. Good to see you, Gusto. Also, I'm talking to Mark Lynch, aka Woundlicker. We've been messaging back and forth. He has a super cool concept that he just brought to me a few days ago. Don't want to give too much of it away, because it's in the drafting phase that we're working together on. So I'll just give you a very broad outline. He told me that he's working on an idea, and for us to collab on it. He's working on an idea about a game show in hell where there are contestants, and he's kind of done this already a few years ago. He's done this already, and I've actually narrated on my channel. But a game show, a hell game show, but that a person on Earth finds one night, and he finds this game show of hell on his TV. So it's got some remnants of that, but this one's different because I think he was telling me about watching it as if you're a demon in hell watching it, and you go through the contestant's eyes, and it's the loose generalization here that could change at any moment. It's a game show in hell in the city of Dis, where people of the damned watch for entertainment to get away from their pain for a little bit, and anyone on the show has a chance to win their freedom from hell. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, if that means freedom back on Earth, or it means freedom, and maybe it's freedom from your torment, but you're still in hell. We're kind of working that out, but he gave me this idea 5 days ago, and I'm like, just shut up and take my money and write this thing, damn it, because it sounds so awesome. My eyes picked up flickers of movement in the shadows. I'm abusing my PS5. It's been neglected recently. The cat is looking at me weird because he normally sleeps where I'm at. Revenge may be forthcoming. Ooh, you do not want an angry cat. Early again. If this keeps up, they'll be moving in daylight soon. And then, dear God. I opened the black plastic trash bags that... I was trying to look at the recording levels. I'm still not used to this microphone. Sometimes it's too close, sometimes it's too far. So sometimes I'm recording, and then I'm trying to read, and then I'm down here looking at the bar, watch early this. Again. If this keeps up, they'll be moving in daylight soon. And then, Dear God, you want your narration voice to be around -12. So all the time I'm looking at the text, and then while reading, I'm looking to see where my voice is hovering, so that'll mess me up quite a bit. Dear God. I opened the black trastic, and then, dear God. I opened the black plastic trash bag I'd staffed there a few days ago. Staffed there, damn. And then, dear God. I opened the black plastic trash bag I'd stashed there a few days ago and pulled out an olive green rubber yoga mat. This I rolled out over a round wooden turntable from the local flea market, one I'd repurposed to allow me to rotate my prone shooter's position any direction I wanted to. The flow on that was weird. Yoga. I think I just need to slow down. I think I'm just reading a little too fast. This I rolled out over a round wooden turntable from the local flea market, one I'd repurposed to allow me to rotate my prone shooter's position any direction I wanted to do with a round wooden turntable from the local flea market. One I'd repurposed to allow me to rotate my prone shooter's position any direction I wanted to with a simple metal locking lever. Cranking it around to face the downtown area, I clicked the little metal legs of my rifle's bipod into position and set my rifle on the table, along with a red box of subsonic hollow point cartridges. My black duffel yielded the last two pieces of equipment: a small, lightweight plastic remote control drone and a simple hardware store hatchet. Alright, is this like part 5 of a series or something? Because this chick was like in an office and now she's about to like be John Wick. I don't know what's going on here. Drone and a simple hardware store hatchet. Looking at the smeary black stains that refused to come out of the wood grain on the hatchet handle, I smothered a wave of nausea. I didn't mind the shooting part, even if it was stressful and time-consuming, but it was the cleanup afterwards, creeping around at 1 a.m. through quiet yards and fences with my hatchet in hand, praying I didn't get caught. All it would take would be one slip-up, one terrified person giving the sheriff a phone call, and I'd be dead or on the run. Also, Dex, I don't know if you're still here or listening. How often do you do recording sessions? Like, because I just wonder, I want to know how often I can call on you for something. Because I'm like, I record every single day. So when someone wants, like, you know, to collab with me, I can record like immediately. But I know some people only record like once a week, or they can only record on like, you know, Saturday or only on Sunday. What is your kind of schedule? If you're still in the chat. And I'd be dead or on the run. Kinda like Sean right now, I figure. My face burned despite being all alone, and I shook the memory of his handsome face from my head. I couldn't think about that stuff right now. I had to focus. They were rising. I could almost feel it in the still night air. Turning my drone on, I set it on autopilot and charted the course I'd planned out for it to take over the sleazy skyline. Sleepy, not sleazy. Turning my drone on, I set it on autopilot and charted the course I'd planned out for it to take over the sleepy skyline of my hometown. Its camera seemed to be in order, along with the onboard thermal sensors I'd appropriated from Mr. Rascotti's old trail camera that he'd kept in a dusty crate in his office. Wiring them into the drone had been tricky to say the least, but the internet is full of people who love doing nerdy things, and I owed a big thank you to the computer geeks of the world. With an electric buzz, the 4 engines of the drone whirred to life and soared off into the sky. I strapped the phone to my wrist with an old gym armband so I could see it with minimal movement inside. Okay, it's go time. I took a moment to stretch, made myself breathe in and out, slowing down my heartbeat, and got down behind the gun, digging into the old... There's a motorcycle going by. Sounds like an old diesel truck, actually. Like, I know y'all can't hear it, but it will show up on here, and then when you compress this, it'll actually be audible later on. Heartbeat, and got down behind the gun. Digging into the red cartridge box, I clicked 5 shiny brass rifle rounds into the weapons receiver and racked the bolt home. Beep, beep. It's kind of a lame beep. Beep, beep. How should I do it? I'll just say my phone dinged. Full rounds into the weapons receiver and racked the bolt home. My phone dinged with the preset thermal signature alarm, and I looked to find it hovering over a position 200 yards to my west. Pivoting the jerry-rigged turntable, I swung into the right angle and y'all see this right here if y'all are watching. So you have this right here, right? Nothing. The truck just rolled right by again, and then you get all this. I gotta redo all that. Set thermal signature alarm. The phone dinged with the preset thermal signature alarm, and I looked to find it hovering over a position 200 yards to my west. Pivoting the jerry-rigged turntable, I swung into the right angle and locked the orange safety handle down to hold it in place. All right, I whispered under my breath, and peered down the scope into the shadows of Barron County's largest town. Come out, wherever you are. As if on cue, a wriggle in one of the outer suburban yards caught my attention. I let the glowing crimson reticle of the digital scope rest over the distant shape. The mailbox was like any other thing in the small farming town of Black Oak. A simple treated wood post hammered into a neatly kept grass lawn, topped by a cheery red metal box with a little triangular flag bolted to the side. It stood with countless others at the edge of the quiet asphalt street, flag down. Oh, there's my garage door opening. My wife is here, yes! I just gotta take a quick little break, because then it's gonna close again. So when does the studio get started? Good question, Lullaby. Whenever I can find someone who will tell me, who can properly look at my house and the schematics and tell me if the room I'm in upstairs is strong enough to support 800 pounds. And we were talking about it earlier. I would be happy with putting the studio in the garage. If I put the studio in the garage, this thing could be as heavy as I want. I mean, it could be 1,000 pounds if I wanted it. And that thing would be pure soundproof. But if I put it in the garage, I'll need to buy a whole new computer and a whole new monitor. Like right now, I record from my computer desk where I play video games and do everything, right? I got one computer. It does everything. If I put it in the garage, that would be the best. But I'd have to buy a whole new PC. Then it goes from like $2,000, and then it jumps to like $5,000 because I'd have to buy a whole new PC, a whole new monitor, a whole new setup, and then on top of that, I'd have to put some kind of AC unit in the garage because it gets like 90 degrees in there in the summer and very, very humid. So. But I might try something. I don't know if it'll be soundproof enough, but I'm thinking about making something out of PVC pipes and just loading it, like making it super thick with like moving blankets and make it like 4 or 5 inches thick of moving blankets, and then that would stop a lot of the sound. The problem is that it won't stop vibrations from coming up to the floor, which is where a lot of that low bass rumble comes from. I could do that for like $500 and see what it sounds like. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. circular flag bolted to the side. I still feel like my voice is off. It stood with countless others at the edge of the quiet asphalt street, flag down. To anyone who didn't know, it all looked perfectly normal, peaceful even. A Norman Rockwell painting of a rural community caught somewhere between the suburban 50s and the dusty 40s. I moved from one of the tropics to one of the coldest places in Australia. Oof. Yeah, now see, where I live in Virginia, the summers get to be like 110 degrees with humidity. Those are on hot days, it'll be like 95, but then humidity will put it to like 110. Your average summer day is like 88 degrees, right? Fahrenheit. And then, but see, winter, Virginia is really weird. You can have a blistering hot summer, and you can have blistering, well, I don't know if you call it that, but you can have like freezing cold winters. You can get to like, I guess it would be for Celsius, like you can get to like, yeah, you can get 0 Celsius over here pretty easily, like easily. That's not too normal. I mean, we get wind, we get snow every year, so it has to be 0 Celsius at some point, right? But yeah, it can be like 32 Fahrenheit here. You can have 10-degree days in Virginia. Your average winter day is probably like, 45, but it would be all right. I could do with the cold, so I wouldn't need to put heat in there. I could get in the studio if it's nice and cold, but in the summer, then I'd have to talk my wife into putting some kind of air conditioning unit in there for the summer, and then a dehumidifier at the same time. So then we're looking at like thousands and thousands of dollars just for a studio down there. Yeah, I know 32 is 0 Celsius. That's the easy one. 32, 0 Celsius, and 100 Celsius is the easy part. Somewhere between the suburban 50s and the dusty 40s. Barely discernible in the long shadows of the streetlights, I caught a blur of motion as the little mailbox's flag swiveled to stand vertically upright, all on its own. Exhale. I pushed the air from my lungs and slid the rifle's safety switch to the off position with my thumb. Inhale. I'm not gonna lie, reading this story makes me want to go out and do some target practice with my gun so bad. Shooting, I don't know how many of y'all shoot. You definitely don't in Australia, I know that. Shooting, though, is just so fun. I love getting my pistol out or my AR out. It's so much fun. Position with my thumb. Inhale. Placing the crosshairs over the metal box, I watched the wooden posts split, the pieces twisting at impossible angles to break away and plant themselves onto the soft grass in an eerie beetle-like set of legs. Exhale. The mailbox shook loose crumbles of dark soil from its 4 sharp wooden feet and stretched in an almost feline way. No longer pretending to be anything other than the nightmare that it was, the creature stood around 4 wrong intonation. The creature stood around 4 feet high, its legs ending just under the small metal mailbox, with several wriggling black appendages slithering out of their vent holes in the sides. These bobbed and wove through the air. Tasting the scent of the breeze, and through the scope, I could just catch the glimmer of no less than 6 tiny black eyes on the larger stalks peering around cautiously. My sights floated down at the bottom of my... I shoot arrows. Nice. I'm Native American. That sounds cool. I'm considering getting my gun license, but I know a few people who shoot over here. Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Australia kind of like, you can only really get a gun if you like live on a farm, basically? I know it's kind of like that in Canada, where half my family lives, where it's like, maybe you can get a shotgun for self-defense, and maybe if you live on a farm, you can get like a bolt-action rifle or something like that, but like, getting a handgun up there is like almost impossible. This is why I love America. I can go down to Bass Pro and grab me a pistol. Right there, same day. On the larger stalks, peering around cautiously. My sights floated down at the bottom of my... What? My sights floated down. Okay. My sights floated down at the bottom of my long breath out, and I squeezed the cold trigger. Snap. It wasn't perfectly quiet, even for the subsonic ammunition I was using, but I figured the suppressor had dampened the report enough that most people would never hear it. Despite the scope rocking at the slight recoil, I still grinned at the sight of the thing being thrown to the ground, its wooden legs kicking, black tendrils writhing in death throes. They didn't take more than 1 or 2 bullets usually, and most bled out by the time I got to them. But what they lacked in durability, these strange chameleonized beings made up for in numbers. You sound like my partner, LOL. Good old America, I can do what I want over here and I got my freedom. I can buy as many guns as I want. I like it that way. Shit, when I bought my pistol a few months ago, I just went down to Green Top and I was like, I like that one. I'll take it home, please. Thank you. Chameleonized beings made up for in numbers. Eat it, freak show. I racked the rifle bolt to send a smoking, spent casings clattering. Numbers. Eat it, freak show. I racked the... Fuck, I fucked it up again. I racked the rifle bolt to send a smoking, spent casing clattering to the rooftop beside me. Now, where's your friends at? I shoot compound archery. You'd never hear it coming. Nice. I knew a family whose 12-year-old was a champion in Queensland for marksmanship. Nice. He also says the same thing about our laws for cars. My wife got me a Mauser a few months ago for Father's Day. God, I love that woman. Wander, that is a great wife you got there. That is awesome. Very awesome. That is super cool. I would love one of those. Bum bum ba-da-dum bum. Just going through chat. Pew pew pew. That's what I like. Man, I loved when I was in the police academy. We had a week of just shooting Glocks, which was like, we probably went through about 2,000 rounds of ammunition each. Gosh, that was fun. But then the most fun week was Rifle Week, and we had a week of just shooting our ARs, and that was probably the most fun I've ever had, ever, for a week. You know, not including like vacations and stuff, but like shooting unlimited ammunition from an AR-15, which, you know, if you're a civilian, I mean, during that week, I probably shot myself like, geez, $2,000 worth of ammo just from the AR. Like, it's crazy. Now, where's your friends at? It didn't take more than one sweep back and forth to catch a pair of them skittering over a parking lot near Black Oak Elementary School. A blue one, and one with a box shaped like some fairy princess castle, searched the abandoned playground. I read that wrong intonation. Over a parking lot. For being almost 100 years old, it's the most accurate rifle I've ever fired. Wow. Over a parking lot near Black Oak Elementary School. A blue one, and one with... this author's awesome. It's just written kind of weird, so... When you read stuff on the fly, you're like, oh, he wrote it like this, but it's not meant to be read like that. It's meant to be read like this. This guy doesn't make many mistakes, but just every now and then. A blue one, and one fucked it up again. A blue one, and one with a box shaped like some fairy princess castle, searched the abandoned playground, their smaller feelers probing the ground, as if they could smell the residual scent of children. The blue one perked up by a lonely swing set and turned toward a nearby row of houses, its Princess Castle companion not far behind. My partner buys me books, art supplies, and caffeine, and he knows I'm happy. That's right. Its Princess Castle companion not far behind. They can track people now. They're getting smarter. Under my finger, the trigger clicked back, and the rifle bucked against my shoulder in a soft, comforting jolt. Down went the blue mailbox, a spray of the thick black goo that resided inside their metallic heads spattering a nearby parked SUV. I felt bad, knowing the owner would be furious to find weird black stains all over their car, but that was better than waking up to the sounds of their son or daughter being dragged out of their bedroom window, kicking and screaming. Besides, I'd seen these things pounce on more than one unsuspecting dog, and the freaks liked to feed on their victims before they were dead. A second spent casing clinked to the tar paper, and as soon as the bolt slid into the battery on another waiting cartridge... A second spent casing clinked to the tar paper, and as soon as the bolt slid into battery on another waiting cartridge, I panned left to follow the Princess Castle mailbox. Snap. Malicious triumph formed into a grin on my face as I watched the evil creature fall into what would have been an epic faceplant if it had a face to fall on, the legs flying up in the air like a cartoon character. I had to admit, it felt good watching them bite the dust. Beep beep. My drone moved on, another sensor kicking off as it spotted more mailboxes crawling free from their hiding places. I still had no idea where they were coming from. Twice as many tonight as there had been 4 nights ago, and I dreaded how long I'd have to stay up just to collect all the bodies. I'd found out the hard way that you couldn't just leave them with the hopes that in the morning someone might find them and report it to the proper authorities. Whatever strange insides these things had would always dissolve into nothing but fine, ashy powder after death, leaving only a splintered wood post and a bullet-riddled mailbox. The police thought it was just a bunch of kids playing tricks, though I noticed that Warnaw had them cleaned up. Oh, man. Though I noticed that Warnaw had them clean up all the mailboxes that I didn't manage to get, as if he didn't want anyone looking too close. Less than 10,000 people in this town, and we've got more secrets than some small countries. My drone beeped off again. Another alarm chimed from the south side, this one closer, and I spun myself to face it, chambering a fresh round. There were a lot of newer homes on the south side of Black Oak, mostly younger middle-class families with kids. This was a favorite target of the mailboxes, due to the prevalence of household items like Due to the prevalence of household pets like dogs, which made for easy pickings. Books, art supplies, heart. Yeah, books is something that I love. My wife likes to read. I love to read. Whenever we go out on a date, we always stop by like Barnes and Noble because it's usually wherever we go to eat. Where we go to eat is like a huge strip, and there's a Barnes & Noble where we like to go eat, or, whatever 5 or 7 restaurants down there, and we always stop by Barnes & Noble on the way after. Man, only 20 minutes into this story. Pets like dogs, which made for easy pickings. Please be a stupid one. Electric nervousness tingled in my blood, my mouth ran dry, and I wished I could take a few minutes to grab a drink of water. Just poke your ugly head out, come on! I found a shape that didn't quite blend in with the others, and all my hopes were dashed. It was hard to see, but I could just make out the glimmer of a square metal mailbox making its way through a side yard, the warm yellow glow of the house lights beaming through the nearby windows. A middle-aged woman with dirty blonde hair stood on the other side of the window. I'm trying to read slow, but I'm reading too fast, like subconsciously. Glow of the house lights beaming through the nearby windows. A middle-aged woman with dirty blonde hair stood on the other side of one of the windows, folding clothes in a laundry room. One window over, a little boy stood with his pudgy hands pressed to the glass. I could see the toys scattered over his room in the background, little action figures and Legos, but he paid them no mind. Instead, the kid, who looked no older than 6, peered out his window with an innocent curiosity. All right. I am going. My wife got home. All right, this is 13 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I was going to save this for if we reach the goal, but we still have the hour and 20-minute Hell as a Prison. What we're going to do is I'm going to play as a social worker. I've seen some crazy things. I'm going to play that for 13 minutes while I go say hi to my wife. And that's only like 10 more minutes longer. So what I'll do is I'm going to play this, and then I'll pick up and finish this story on stream. And then after that, we'll go back to what we were just reading. But I will be AFK for a little bit while we listen to this. I have been a social worker for nearly 2 decades, so I, of all people, know that when most people think about my profession, they usually imagine mountains of administrative paperwork, organizing food assistance programs, or navigating the incredibly complex foster care system. While those duties certainly make up a large portion of my daily routine, there is another side to the job that rarely gets discussed outside of our office walls. We are often the last remaining line of defense for the forgotten members of society. So as you can see, we are the individuals dispatched to knock on doors when someone stops opening their mail, stops answering their telephone, and simply fades away from the public eye. Over the years, I've seen things behind closed doors that entirely shattered my understanding of the world. I've kept quiet about these specific cases for a long time, primarily because I feared losing my professional license or being forced into a mandatory psychiatric evaluation by my supervisors. But I'm getting old now, and the memories are starting to weigh significantly on my conscience. So I decided it's finally time to document and share the stories of the weird cases I dealt with during my career. And that's what brings me here, as I want to start with an assignment from many years ago involving a routine welfare check on an elderly woman. The assignment originated on a Tuesday morning. My supervisor handed me a manila folder containing a very thin case file. The file belonged to an 82-year-old woman who lived alone. On paper, everything about her situation appeared completely normal. Her utility bills were paid on time through an automated bank system, her pension was actively deposited, and her property tax were entirely up to date. The only red flag, and the reason the file landed on my desk, was that no one had actually seen her in a very long time. She had ignored the previous routine wellness checks from our department. She did not answer the door when the previous workers knocked, and her telephone simply rang endlessly when we tried to call. And so as you can see, my job was simple in theory: drive to her property, make contact, assess her living conditions, and determine if she needed to be moved into a state-assisted living facility. Her property was located in the middle of a very affluent, highly manicured neighborhood on the edge of the city. The area was famous among city workers for one specific characteristic. It was a neighborhood where absolute apathy was the community standard. The residents there valued their privacy to a fault, cultivating a culture where nobody ever looked over their fences. And of course, nobody cared what happened to the people living right next door. You could collapse on your front lawn in this neighborhood, and the passing cars would simply drive around you to avoid getting involved. I parked my car along the curb. It was a bright, colorless afternoon. The street was lined with massive oak trees and perfectly trimmed hedges. I walked up the driveway toward the elderly woman's house. The property stood out immediately because it felt entirely lifeless. The lawn had grown completely out of control, the bushes were overgrown and tangled, and a massive pile of circulars and junk mail covered the front porch. Before approaching the door, I noticed a man washing his expensive car in the driveway right next door. I walked over to the property line, holding my identification badge clearly in my hand. "Excuse me, sir," I called out, keeping my tone polite and professional. "I'm a social worker with the county. I'm trying to check on your neighbor. Have you seen the elderly woman who lives in this house recently?" The man didn't bother to turn off his hose. He barely glanced in my direction, keeping his eyes focused on the soapy water running down his windshield. "I mind my own business," he replied dismissively. "I've not seen anyone come out of that house since last autumn." "Has anyone come to visit her?" I pressed, trying to gather any useful context. "Family members, grocery deliveries, anything at all?" "I said I mind my own business," the man repeated, turning his back to me entirely. "If she's dead in there, call the police. Don't bother me with it." I thanked him for his time, realizing I would get no help from the surrounding community. I walked back over to the property and stepped onto the front porch. As I stood on the porch, I noticed something deeply unsettling about the house. The large picture window facing the street was completely opaque. I stepped closer to examine the glass. Every single pane of the window had been meticulously covered from the inside with thick layers of newspaper and dark construction paper. Someone had used thick strips of duct tape to seal the edges of the paper directly against the window frame, ensuring that not a single sliver of sunlight could penetrate the glass. I stepped off the porch and walked around the side of the house, checking the secondary windows. They were all identical. Every window on the ground floor was aggressively sealed against the outside world. I returned to the front door, feeling a distinct sense of unease settling into my stomach. Then I noticed that the glass panels on the front door were also blacked out with taped paper. I raised my fist and knocked loudly on the solid wood frame. "County Social Services," I announced. "I'm here to conduct a mandatory wellness check. Please come to the door." I waited for a full minute, listening intently to the silence of the neighborhood. I knocked again, much harder this time. "If anyone is inside, you need to answer the door," I stated firmly. "If I cannot verify the safety of the resident, I am legally obligated to contact law enforcement to force entry into the premises." A few seconds later, I heard the faint sound of footsteps moving softly across the hardwood floor inside. The footsteps stopped right behind the front door. Then I heard the metallic click of a deadbolt sliding back, followed by the rattle of a brass security chain engaging. The door opened just a few inches, stopped by the tension of the chain. The interior of the house was entirely pitch black. I couldn't see anything through the narrow gap, but a wave of stagnant, freezing air drifted out onto the porch. "Who are you?" a voice asked from the darkness. The voice did not belong to an 82-year-old woman. It was the voice of a very young woman. The tone was smooth and calm. "I'm a county social worker," I explained, holding my badge up to the narrow gap so she could see it. "I've been assigned to check on the elderly resident of this address. The county has not been able to reach her for several months. Can you tell me who you are?" "I'm her granddaughter," the young woman replied smoothly from the shadows. "You don't need to worry about her. I moved in a few months ago to take care of her full time. She's perfectly fine. You can close the case and go back to your office." "I appreciate that you're caring for her, but I can't just leave," I said, maintaining a calm but authoritative stance. "Agency protocol dictates that I must make visual contact with the primary resident to confirm her living conditions and her cognitive state. I need you to unchain the door and allow me inside for 5 minutes." "I can't do that," the young woman answered immediately. "My grandmother is resting right now. She had a difficult night and finally fell asleep. I'm not going to wake her for a government inspection." "I don't need to wake her up or interview her," I countered, leaning slightly closer to the gap. "I simply need to step inside, see her breathing in her bed, and verify that she has access to food, running water, and proper medication. If you refuse to let me verify her safety, I will have to sit on this porch and call the police. They will break the door off its hinges and that will be incredibly distressing for your grandmother." There was a long, tense pause from the other side of the door. I could hear her breathing softly in the dark. "I cannot open the door entirely," she finally said, her voice dropping to a lower, more cautious register. "I suffer from a medical condition. It's an extreme allergy to ultraviolet light. If the sunlight hits my skin, I'll experience severe blistering and respiratory distress. That's why the windows are covered. If you want to come inside, you must promise to slip through the gap quickly and close the door immediately behind you so the sun does not touch me." "I understand," I assured her, despite finding the explanation highly unusual. "I'll be very quick. Just undo the chain." The door closed for a fraction of a second. The metal chain rattled as it was unhooked, and then the door swung open just enough for me to pass through. I stepped over the threshold into the freezing darkness of the house. True to my word, I reached back and pushed the front door shut until the deadbolt clicked into place. The moment the door closed, the darkness became absolute. My eyes struggled to adjust after being in the bright afternoon sun. The ambient temperature inside the house was easily 20 degrees colder than the weather outside. "Thank you for being careful," the young woman said. She was standing a few feet away from me in the entryway. As my eyes slowly adapted to the gloom, I could make out her silhouette. She was wearing a long, dark dress that covered her entirely from her neck down to her ankles. Her face was obscured by the shadows, but I could tell she was standing perfectly still, her posture unnervingly rigid. "Thank you for cooperating," I replied, pulling a small flashlight from my jacket pocket. I clicked it on, aiming the beam at the floor to avoid blinding her, but allowing the ambient light to illuminate the space. The house was in a state of profound neglect. The walls were covered in faded, peeling wallpaper. The furniture in the living room was draped with old, dusty plastic sheets. Stacks of hoarded newspapers and cardboard boxes lined the hallways, creating narrow, claustrophobic pathways through the home. "Where is your grandmother resting?" I asked, keeping my flashlight pointed downward as I navigated the clutter. "She's in the back bedroom," the young woman answered, her voice echoing slightly in the empty living room. She stepped into my path, attempting to block the hallway. "But like I said, she's sleeping. Perhaps we could sit in the kitchen first? I can make you a cup of tea, and we can discuss her medical paperwork. I have all her prescriptions organized in a binder." "I'm not here to review paperwork right now," I stated firmly, recognizing the classic stalling tactics people use when they are hiding something from social services. "The visual confirmation is my only priority. Please step aside and lead me to the bedroom. This will only take a moment." She hesitated, her silhouette shifting uncomfortably in the dark hallway. "She really doesn't like strangers in her personal space," the young woman insisted. "She gets very confused and agitated." "I deal with agitated clients every day," I said, stepping around her and walking deliberately down the dark corridor. "Which room is it?" "The last door on the left," she muttered, following closely behind me. I could hear her bare feet moving silently across the hardwood floor. I aimed my flashlight into the bedroom. The room was meticulously organized, but it was completely empty. The bed was unmade, the heavy quilts tangled and pushed to one side, but there was absolutely no sign of an 82-year-old woman resting. I shined my beam across the nightstand. It was entirely bare. No pill bottles, no water glass, no reading glasses, none of the basic medical necessities you would expect for a senior citizen requiring full-time care. I stepped over to the mattress and placed my bare hand firmly against the exposed sheets. The fabric was freezing cold. It was immediately obvious that nobody had been sleeping in that bed recently. I turned around to face the young woman. She was standing in the doorway, her face still cloaked in the shadows of the hall. "Your grandmother is not in her bed," I said, dropping my... Oh, here we go. Let me pick that up right there. "Your grandmother is not in her bed," I said, dropping my professional courtesy and adopting a much more stern, demanding tone. "Where is she? If you lie to me again, I am calling the authorities immediately." "She must have gotten up while I was talking to you at the front door." "Oh, no, I said that kind of frantically, and then it says, the young woman replied calmly. "Again, I am calling the authorities." Who writes this one? Okay. Oh, it's Gamal Frank. It's neither of who I thought it was. I thought it was 02321 or Saturdead. Man, we are, I wonder why the views are, the live view is so low today. We've been hanging around 10 like the whole time. Me again, I am calling the authorities immediately. She must have gotten up while I was talking to you at the front door, the young woman replied calmly, completely unfazed by my threat. She wanders around the house sometimes. Let us check the kitchen. I didn't trust a single word she was saying. I gripped my flashlight tightly and pushed past her, walking toward the back of the house where the kitchen and utility rooms were located. Oh, let me put the screen back. There we go. The house where the kitchen and utility rooms were located. I entered the kitchen. The refrigerator was unplugged, its door hanging open, completely empty except for a thick layer of black mold. I walked past the kitchen island and noticed a partially open door leading into what looked like a laundry room. I pushed the laundry room door open and stepped inside, sweeping my flashlight beam across the floor. My breath caught in my throat, and my stomach aggressively churned at the sight before me. Piled haphazardly in the corner of the room, between a rusted washing machine and a utility sink, were the bodies of dozens of animals. There were stray cats, several small dogs, and a few raccoons. The animals looked entirely desiccated. Their bodies were flattened, completely drained of all fluids, resembling dry, hollow husks covered in fur. I stepped closer, shining the intense beam of light directly onto the closest carcass. There were distinct, brutal puncture wounds on the animal's neck, but there was no blood pooled on the floor around the bodies. I backed out of the laundry room quickly, my mind racing to process the horrific scene. I bumped into the wall of the hallway and turned instinctively into the adjacent room, which happened to be the primary bathroom. I tried to flick the light switch on the wall, but the power was dead. I raised my flashlight to illuminate the space, intending to check behind the shower curtain, but the beam caught the reflection of the large vanity mirror above the sink. I froze completely. Written across the dusty surface of the bathroom mirror, in thick, dark, dried blood, was a deeply disturbing message. I am no longer sick. I am finally young again. I stood in the dark bathroom reading the bloody words over and over again. My brain frantically attempted to connect the pieces of the puzzle. The grandmother who had not been seen in months, the young woman claiming to be the granddaughter, the completely empty, dusty bed, the drained, bloodless animals piled in the utility room, the desperate message written on the glass. But that timeline didn't make any sense. If the granddaughter had moved in months ago to care for the old woman, why was the house completely dead? Why was there no food, no electricity, and no sign of anyone other than the young woman herself? I told you she was resting, a voice whispered from the doorway behind me. I spun around rapidly, aiming the beam of my flashlight directly at the bathroom door. The young woman was standing there, blocking the only exit, but her demeanor had entirely changed. The smooth, calm cadence of her voice was gone. When she spoke now, her voice carried the exhausted, raspy, resentful tone of someone who had suffered through decades of immense pain. I was trapped in this house for years, she said, taking a slow step into the bathroom. My joints were failing. My lungs were filling with fluid. Every single morning was an exercise in agony. I couldn't walk to the mailbox or even cook for myself. I screamed for help, but nobody in this miserable neighborhood ever cared. The people next door ignored me. The state ignored me. You social workers never came when I actually needed you. You left me here to rot in the dark. Where is the old woman? I demanded, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to remain steady. I kept the light pointed at her torso, slowly reaching into my pocket for my phone. "I just told you," she hissed, taking another step forward. She stepped fully into the ambient glow of the flashlight bouncing off the bathroom tiles. I hear my little puppers barking. The flashlight bouncing off the bathroom tiles. I finally saw her face clearly. She looked like a woman in her early 20s, but her skin was flawlessly pale, looking almost like polished marble. However, it was her eyes that made my blood run entirely cold. Her eyes were completely inhuman. The sclera was a sickly, vibrant yellow, reflecting the light exactly like a nocturnal predator. "Someone finally visited me," the woman continued. Her yellow eyes locked onto my face. A deeply menacing and manic smile stretched across her pale cheeks. "A shadow came through the basement window during the coldest night of the winter. He found me dying in my bed. He saw how abandoned I was, how pathetic my existence had become. And then he offered me a trade. He gave me the ultimate grace." She raised her hands, displaying long, sharpened fingernails that looked more like dark, hardened claws. "He took away the sickness," she whispered, her voice vibrating with an unnatural resonance. "He took away the weakness. He finally made me young again. All I have to do to keep the pain away is drink. The stray animals were enough at first to sustain the youth, but the thirst is getting worse. I am so terribly hungry today." She lunged at me with a speed that was impossible for a human to achieve. She crossed the distance of the bathroom in the fraction of a second. I barely had time to react. I swung my flashlight in my hand as hard as I could, aiming directly for her face. The solid casing collided violently with her jaw. The impact produced a sickening crack that echoed in the small room. The force of the blow derailed her momentum, sending her crashing into the bathtub and tearing the shower curtain down with her. I bolted out of the bathroom. I'm gonna do a little faster on this into one. The bathtub and tearing the shower curtain down with her. I bolted out of the into the bathtub and tearing the shower curtain down with her. I bolted out of the bathroom, sprinting down the pitch-black hallway toward the front of the house. I could hear her scrambling out of the bathtub behind me, her claws tearing frantically against the floor. She was recovering far too quickly. I pushed through the hoarded stacks of cardboard boxes in the living room, my legs burning with adrenaline. I could hear her snarling, a guttural, animalistic sound that reverberated through the dark house. I reached the entryway and threw my hands against the front door, frantically grasping for the brass deadbolt in the darkness. Before I could turn the lock, I felt her fingers clamp down on the fabric of my jacket. Her grip possessed an overwhelming force. She yanked me backward violently, throwing me onto the floor under a window. I scrambled onto my back, kicking out wildly with my boots. She crawled over my legs, pinning me down, her yellow eyes glowing in the dark, her jaw hanging at a strange, broken angle from where I'd struck her. She opened her mouth, revealing rows of elongated, razor-sharp teeth, and lunged toward my throat. In a moment of desperate clarity, I remembered the excuse she had given me at the door. I stopped trying to push her away. Instead, I reached my arm entirely over my head, stretching my hand toward the window above us. My fingers found the edge of the thick duct tape holding the dark paper in place. I grabbed the paper and ripped it downward with every ounce of strength. One sec. Cleaning my glasses here. I'm cleaning my glasses here. Just wait a second. Crikey. There we go, mate. On the edge of the thick duct tape holding the dark paper in place. I grabbed the paper and ripped it downward with every... On the edge of the thick duct tape holding the dark paper in place. I grabbed the paper and ripped it downward with every ounce of strength I had left. The layers tore away from the glass. The intense, brilliant light of the afternoon sun blasted through the window, flooding the dark entry of... Flooding the dark entryway with my fucking mouth doesn't want to move properly. Layers tore away from the glass. The layers tore away from the glass. The intense, brilliant light of the afternoon sun blasted through the window, flooding the dark entryway with direct sunlight. The beam of sunlight struck the woman directly across her back and the side of her face. The reaction was instantaneous and horrific. The moment the light touched her pale skin, she released a deafening, piercing shriek of pure agony. Her skin began to rapidly blister, turning a sickening shade of charred black while thick, foul-smelling smoke poured from her flesh. It sounded like raw meat being thrown onto a scorching iron grill. She released my jacket immediately, scrambling backward off my body and throwing her arms over her burning face. She threw herself into the shadows of the living room, retreating. See, I mismatched the word "the." She threw herself into the shadows of the living room. See, yeah, gotta redo that. She threw herself into the shadows of the living room, retreating away from the lethal sunlight, screaming and thrashing against the hoarded boxes. I didn't hesitate for a single second. I ran to the front door, twisted the deadbolt, pulled the front door open, and threw myself out onto the sunlit porch. I slammed the door shut behind me, ran down the driveway, and threw myself into my county vehicle. And threw myself out onto the sunlit porch. Myself out onto the sunlit. I slammed the door shut behind me, ran down the driveway, and threw myself into my county vehicle. I locked the car doors, jammed the key into the ignition, and sped away from the affluent neighborhood as fast as the engine would allow. I drove for several miles before I pulled over into a shopping center parking. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Alley-oops not online. Not unless I go pretty late, she told me. I'm slowly losing consciousness. It's 2 a.m. here, and I got to work today, tomorrow. Catch you later, guys. Good reading, Kevin. Thank you so much, Void and Maverick. It was awesome to have you in here tonight. I wish you were a little bit closer to my time, part of the world, because it's only 9 p.m. over here. But I will definitely catch you on the next stream, hopefully. They are always at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, this story's got about 30 seconds left. Let's see. Here we go. Where are we at? In the affluent neighborhood as fast as the engine would allow. I drove for several miles before I pulled over into a shopping center parking lot to catch my breath and attempt to process what had just occurred. I did not call the police or even report the attack to my agency. If I told my supervisors that an 82-year-old woman had been transformed into a vampire creature, my career would have been terminated immediately, and I would have been institutionalized. Instead, I returned to the office, filed the paperwork, and officially reported the house as abandoned. I stated that the resident had likely moved out of state without notifying the county, and the case was quietly closed and filed away into the archives. I officially closed the case, but exactly 1 month later, I could not stop myself from driving back to that neighborhood. Also, okay, if it's 9 p.m. here, and it's 2 a.m., so you're 7 hours different. 5, my bad. 5 hours different. Yeah, you're 5 hours after. Is that like England time or something like that? But I feel like England would be more than 5 hours. Oh yeah, what time is it in London? It's 2:02 a.m. Oh, they're only 5 hours different? Oh, that's surprising. I feel like it would be more than that. We're separated by a whole ocean. Myself and driving back to that neighborhood. I parked across the street and looked at the property. The house was completely abandoned. The dark paper had been ripped away from the windows, the overgrown bushes were dying, and the driveway was entirely empty. I don't know where she went. I have no idea what new city or neighborhood she vanished into. But as I sat in my car staring at the vacant home, a deep, cold certainty settled into my stomach. I felt it in my bones. I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'll meet her again someday. Let's redo that. That I'll meet her again someday. Yeah, that works. All right. Yeah, it's like sometimes you would want these to be the best readings that I do, but like sometimes on the live streams, it's like I think it's because I don't know. Like I usually don't drink that much. I'm like I feel like I'm just like dehydrated. I feel like my mouth just is like not moving the way it should because I should have more water in me. I've had nothing but like Diet Coke and like an energy drink today, so I'm definitely dehydrated. All right, let's see. Let's go back. Let's save this. What's this one called? Burn your mailbox. All right, we're gonna go back to reading this, and I don't know if we're gonna finish. This has like 20 more minutes. This is a longer story than I thought, which is a good thing because we like long stories over here. But that's, I guess, at least 20 more minutes, I'd say. We're gonna read for a little bit. If we hit $10 more, and I'm probably gonna be getting off here soon. But if we hit 10 more bucks in donations, then I will go ahead and just hit the Hell Has a Prison story and run that. The hour and 20 minutes I have so far of that, I'll just run that. Because the voice is kind of giving out a little bit, so we stop in a little bit, or I go ahead and do Hell Has a Prison. If we hit like 2 memberships or $10 in donations, we'll listen to that, get a sneak peek at it. If not, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Mailbox and read a little bit more from this. Peered out his window with an innocent curiosity. Where is that? Gotta find, Here we go. Found it. Peered out his window with an innocent curiosity. Sweat beaded under my bandana, and I had to fight rising panic in my chest, whispering under my breath as if somehow the poor boy would hear me from a quarter mile away. Don't do it, kid. Just turn around. Walk away. Raising his hand, the toddler cocked his shaggy-haired head to one side and rapped a set of tiny knuckles on the window glass, as if signaling to the shape in the yard. No, 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 don't do that! The mailbox froze just beyond the reach of the lights, and from the way the boy tensed, I could tell that they had both spotted each other. Frozen to the spot, his round pink face now a mask of sheet-white fear, the boy watched as the mailbox crept up to the window, its tall black insectoid eye stalks leering down at him. Shoot, and today has been a movie day for me. So I watched Terminator 1 today. That was fun, always a good movie. And then I wanted to watch Terminator 2, but it was like, I tried to log into Paramount Plus, and it was like, you're signed out. And I was like, my wife's at work. I don't feel like texting her, what's the email and password again? And I was like, I don't feel like going through all that. So I went on to HBO and searched on horror movies. And then I was like, you know what? Sinners came up with Michael B. Jordan. And I was like, I've been putting off watching this movie for no reason for so long. Let me go ahead and turn it on. And I turned it on, and it was like a 2-hour movie, and it was really good. I actually really liked it. I thought I wasn't going to like it for some reason. But I was actually pretty surprised. It had some points I didn't like, but it was actually a really good movie. Don't want to spoil anything, of course. And then I watched, then I've seen the thumbnail on HBO for a long time for the movie Weapons, But I always thought the thumbnail just looked so dumb. Like it was like a kid. The thumbnail was a kid, with his arms like outstretched, like he's running away from something, and I just thought that looked stupid. And I was like, thumbnail's whack. I'm not gonna watch it. And it reminded me of like that Super 8 movie for some reason. And I was like, I'm not gonna watch it. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll finally watch it. And it was a long movie, but I was very pleasantly surprised for that too. I was very pleasantly surprised at Weapons. I saw it in theaters, loved it, but I think the ending wasn't the strong suit. If you're talking about Sinners, I kind of agree. It was just like it was a forced plot contrivance that I didn't like. So, you know what the Asian woman does, Gusto, at the end? Like, they could have been completely in the clear. And I won't say what she did because I don't want to spoil it for anybody in here, but they could have been completely fine. But she ruins the whole thing with one sentence. And I knew she was going to do it too. I knew it the moment that happened to her husband. I knew she was going to fuck everything up, and she did. And it was just so stupid. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, it was just so forced. I saw Weapons in theaters too, loved it. The creator was from The Whitest Kids You Know. The running pose comes from the napalm picture in Vietnam. Yeah, I thought it was going to be so dumb. The thumbnail looks so stupid. And then I watched it, and I was like, fuck, I've missed out on this, like, really good. But I had a couple problems with the plot there, too. Because there were some forced aspects that are just stupid. And I'm like, oh, that's just dumb. But sometimes you got to just suspend your disbelief. And it went somewhere that I had no idea it was going. Like, I had no idea Weapons was going. Like, I thought it was going to be supernatural, obviously, in some way. But I had no idea it was going where it went. That was actually a really pleasant reveal. Insectoid eye stalks leering down at him. The mailbox rose to its full height, like some spider from a crazy mushroom trip dream, and braced itself against the outside wall, one leg poised to shatter the glass like a hammer. Its metal door slid down like an oversized jaw, and a mass of black, sinewy muscle slithered out. Down like an oversized jaw, and a mass of black, sinewy muscle slithered out, opening up to reveal ring after ring of razor-sharp teeth. More black tendrils emerged from the box, spreading out like a fan of tentacles. The eye stalks arcing down to look straight at the kid from above. The creatures didn't make any noise, and they didn't have to. Just seeing them could freeze someone with fear, and I can only imagine what that little poor boy was thinking. It's too close. I couldn't shoot for the midsection, since if the bullet passed through, I'd hit the kid. But if I didn't shoot, that thing would lunge through the window, fasten its multiple jaws over the boy's head, jam its black tendrils into his eye sockets, and crack open his tiny... Oh man, fucked it up. Jam its black tendrils into his eye sockets, and crack open his tiny skull to devour every ounce of gray matter he had. It was their signature move, one that I'd seen repeated on countless stray dogs, cats, and the one poor homeless guy down by the library. A truly cruel and hateful way to kill. You don't have the bullseye, Andrea. You can't miss the target. You just can't miss the target. Yeah. The bullseye, Andrea. You can't miss the target. Grandpa whispered from days long gone, and I could almost feel his gentle hands under my arms, helping me to hold my rifle steady. Snap! With a surprised jerk, the mailbox flinched away from the window, and my rifle round plowed through a neat hole through its extended wooden leg. The glass of the window shattered under the impact of the bullet, and inside, the toddler finally screamed at the top of his lungs and ran for his bedroom door. I could see the blur of his mother dashing from the laundry room at the sound of her child's cries, and no doubt The boy's father was doing the same from whenever he was in the house. From wherever. Fuck, I gotta read that. I gotta read that whole fucking thing. He screamed at the top of his lungs and ran for his bedroom door. I could see the blur of his mother dashing from the laundry room at the sound of her child's cries. And no doubt, the boy's father was doing the same from wherever he was in the house. Angry and dripping dark rivulets of ebony from its wound, the mailbox rounded on the window with a pathetic flopping gait. Snap. I sent another zipping lead bullet into the wall to its left to herd a freak of... Huh? His left to herd the... Okay, that's what he meant. I sent another zipping lead bullet into the wall to its left to herd the freak away from the house, my heart ramming against my ribs with barely controlled panic. Whirling away from the building, the mailbox cast around the yard with its oily black eyes, searching for the source of its torment. My clammy fingers yanked on the rifle bolt, and I chambered the last round in the gun's internal magazine. Start running, creep, I hissed, and squeezed the trigger, sending a geyser of dirt up just to the left of the creature's right front leg. Creep, I hissed, and squeezed the trigger, sending a geyser of dirt up just to the left of the creature's right front leg. Startled by the renewed attack, the mailbox abandoned the house and scuttled back over the yard, trailing that pitch-black goo from its broken leg with every step. Alright guys, I'm going to call it a night. I haven't seen my wife since 6 o'clock this morning, and she's home from work, putting the baby to bed, so I'm going to... And she goes to sleep in like half an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get in there while she's still awake and get some time with her. I appreciate everybody so much for coming out tonight. We will be streaming again, 7 p.m. EST, just like normal. Just like normal next week. Hopefully, I got a few long stories on the back burner that I want done. We didn't hit the goal today, although we did pretty well. We got close. So I'm gonna save the Hell as a Prison story for next time. It might come out this week. It might come out next week. I mean, I'm gonna be done it probably tomorrow. I want to read that really bad. I just need to figure out if I want other voice actors in it or not. So it'll be out. If it's not out this week, it'll be out in like 2 weeks. But I appreciate all of you being here tonight. Thank you so much for being here, chatting it up. And as always, thanks for listening, everybody.